We're back again for the final chapter of Stick Dog. It's chapter 9, Spin, Howl, Bounce and Thump. They waited until the mum in the yellow apron took the hamburgers from the barbecue and set them on the picnic table. This was very important to Stick Dog. He did not want to snatch a bunch of hamburgers that were too hot to carry or eat. Do you know that feeling? It's a bad feeling, like when you're really hungry and there's a nice slice of steaming hot cheese pizza right there in front of you and you just can't wait. And then you take a bite and zam! You burn the roof of your mouth so badly that it makes a little flap of loose skin hang down and you spend the rest of the day trying to tear that thing off with your tongue. Only it takes forever and it slowly drives you crazy until you do just about anything, including sticking a vacuum cleaner's sucking tube thingy in your mouth just to get it out. I really don't like it when that happens. And obviously, we wouldn't be doing that if that did happen to us. But I'm sure you've done it. I've done it, sometimes on a cup of tea, and then it's there and it does annoy. Next page. Distracted myself. Anyway, all 5 dogs waited behind the honeysuckle bush until the hamburgers were off the barbecue and the mum and dad were finished setting the table. They called the boy and girl, who immediately picked up their football and came running to the gazebo. It appeared they were just as hungry as the dogs. And those hamburgers, those delicious hamburgers, were cooling off to the perfect temperature. And the family, that no good, selfish, rotten, stingy bunch of hamburger munching humans, was just getting ready to eat. It was then that the dogs put their plan into action. Just as the family was picking up their paper plates from behind the honeysuckle bush ran 5 dogs they'd never seen before. When they heard barking, the family stopped putting food on their plates and turned to look. You can see them all there, dashing out from behind the honeysuckle bush. Now they were quite alarmed or anything. They weren't quite alarmed or anything. It wasn't as if 5 rhinoceroses came charging out of the woods at them, or 5 man-eating lions, or 5 ooze-filled orange aliens from the planet Dangerville or something. After all, these were just 5 dogs, and one of them was Karen the Dachshund. And let's be honest, I don't care how ferocious a dachshund happens to be, and Karen isn't very ferocious at all, you're just not going to be that alarmed when you see one coming. So it would probably be fair to say that the family was more startled than anything. As the dogs got closer and closer, the family stopped everything they were doing. The son stood still as a statue, a square slice of cheddar cheese pinched between his pointer finger and thumb. The dad was frozen with his hand deep in a big bowl of crunchy potato chips. The daughter was holding a ketchup bottle. She just kept squeezing it and squeezing it. A bright red stream of ketchup was creating a great red mountain on the side of her paper plate, which was now getting lopsided and starting to tip over. You can see there she's tipping her plate. It's a bit like me if I'm not concentrating what I'm doing. Things just tip, or again, the cup of tea, I'm talking, and I'll just tip it. Next page. And the mum was starting with a pickle halfway in and halfway out of her mouth. In fact, it kind of looked like she was trying to take her temperature with the pickle. For a minute, you thought she was going to pull it out, look at it and declare, "Yay! The pickle says my temperature is only 98.6 degrees. Let's eat." When the dogs reached the gazebo, the family was still staring. The dogs were panting, the sun was shining, and the show, the distractions, were all about to begin. And when they began, things happened very, very fast. Karen was the first one to grab the family's attention. She started turning in a circle right next to the picnic table, chasing her tail with terrific determination and skill. She started slowly at first and then built up greater and greater momentum. It was only a matter of 8 or 9 seconds before she reached supreme tail-chasing velocity. The sound of her nails clattering against the concrete floor echoed inside the gazebo. Karen turned round and round and round until she was just this brown, spinning, blurry whirlwind. You couldn't tell where her head was, or her body, or her tail. They all blended together. And there she is there, in that whirlwind. Just when they thought she couldn't go any faster, Karen doubled her speed. Each of the family members now felt a strong whirling wind blow across their ankles. The dad's trousers began to rustle and flap. She was Karen, the doggy tornado, and boy did the family look at her. Their eyes darted back and forth, trying to make head nor tail, quite literally, of what they were looking at. Their mouths hung open in wonder. In fact, a big chunk of the pickle that was halfway in and halfway out of the mum's mouth fell down to the ground during the commotion. The rest was still dangling from her lips. Stick Dog thought about running in and picking it up, but he knew his first priority was hamburgers, so he left it alone. They all stared at Karen until a loud, roaring, piercing sound came from the other side of the picnic table. It was Mutt. Oh man, could he howl? The family turned from Karen, the doggy tornado, to stare at Mutt, the canine howling machine. And as they snapped their heads around to see where the deafening roar was coming from, all 4 family members slapped their hands over their ears. This was an instinctive response for any human to make to this mind-numbing sound. It was also an especially unfortunate response for the daughter. In the midst of all the chaos, you see, she had forgotten there was a ketchup bottle in her right hand, so she got a sharp jab to her face with the plastic bottle and a great red ketchup splodge on her right cheek. Mutt's massive howl was so loud that the ketchup splotch seemed a small price to pay for the ability to cover her ears. There was no time to recover from the surprise of spinning Karen and howling Mutt before a white and black bouncing blur drew the family's attention. It was, as I'm sure you know, Stripes. Imagine a white Super Ball, like the kind you buy for a quarter from a bubblegum type machine at the grocery store or the laundrette, with black spots. Then imagine firing that ball with all your might inside that gazebo. Now you have an exact idea of what Stripes looked like. She was jumping and bouncing everywhere, off benches, off tables, off other dogs, off each human's shoes, ankles and knees. Stripes bounced one way and her shoulder slammed into the picnic table. She bounced off the picnic table and banged into the gazebo wall. She bounced off the gazebo wall and smashed into the dad's knee. When she smashed into his knee, the father's hip rammed into the table and the potato chip bowl popped up and flipped in the air. A spray of salty chips came raining down inside the gazebo. Many of the potato chips landed on the dad's head. Stick Dog considered making a dash into the gazebo to gather all the spilled potato chips, but he knew his job was to get those hamburgers. The humans whipped their heads back and forth, up and down, watching Stripes go crazy. For a moment it looked as if their heads might pop right off their bodies, and I think their heads really might have popped off if it hadn't been for what happened next. Even with their hands covering their ears, the family could hear the loud padding of 4 paws getting faster and faster, and then a great thump. I bet you know who it was. It was Poo Poo. Do you remember when you were a 1-year-old? Probably not. It's hard to remember back that far. Besides, who wants to anyway? Do you want to have memories of drooling all over the place and grown-ups talking to you like you're a 1-year-old? Well, you were a 1-year-old, of course, but that doesn't mean they have to talk to you like that. You know what I mean. Goo goo gaga, blah blah blah. Grow up, people. Anyway, when you were a 1-year-old and just learning to walk, you would stumble and trip all over the place. You would bang your head into walls and smash your face on the floor when you fell. Don't be ashamed. We all did it. And here's the thing. When you got up, you almost always smiled anyway, because you had just taken some steps. You were learning to be an amazing, incredible, walking human. Who cares if your face is all bashed up? You are walking like nobody's business. You thought nobody has ever done this in the entire history of the world. Except, of course, in the whole history of the world, just about all of us have done it. But never mind. You didn't know that at the time, so you were just pleased as anything. You were an awesome walking machine. You can see that there, wearing the little medal, walking machine. Well, When Poo-Poo raced across the field and ran face first into the tree trunk, that's sort of what he looked like. His legs were a little wobbly. His head was a little hurt, but he was proud, so proud of causing such a great distraction. The family had stopped watching anything else. They just stared at Poo-Poo running into that tree again and again, and Stick Dog knew that it was his turn. He had his job to do. He had to grab those hamburgers. Well, that's the end of chapter 9. I thought that was the last chapter. We've got chapter 10 to go next time.